Okay guys, today we're going to talk about solving proportions. And so we'll use the cross product property. We'll set up some of these problems. Um, I guess we can jump right into it. Some of you guys are probably very familiar with solving proportions. We've done it before in this class, not necessarily going through it a whole lot, but I don't think it's necessary for us to go through it a whole lot since you've probably seen it before. But I want to cover all of our bases just so we can make sure that we're where we need to be by time our assessment comes, which is next week. Okay, so make sure you're ready for that, or getting ready for that if you don't feel ready for it already. Okay, so first of all, we need to know what a proportion is. A proportion is when we set two equal ratios, or two ratios equal to each other. Okay, so for example, 2/5, are we up here? 2/5 and 8/20, or 8/20. Okay, the only reason we can set this equal to each other is because they are equal to each other. If we want to reduce them both down to simplest terms, they'd both be, let's see, if 2/5 can't do anything to that, but if I divided both the numerator and denominator here by 4, I would get 2/5. See? Reduced, these two fractions would be the same thing. That's all proportions. All proportions that we have to equal the same thing or it doesn't work. Okay, so I'll show you a couple examples here. The reason that this has to be true, we use the cross product property, which assumes that these two fractions are the same. Okay, that's why proportions have to be equal. When we say equal, it means they're the same. Okay, so our cross product property, when we have two fractions that are the same, always makes the two sides equal. So if I do 4 times 1.5, try this if you want to, it should equal 2 times 3. Now 2 times 3, everybody knows is 6. 4 times 1.5, if you need a calculator, use it just so you can prove yourself, but 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 1/2 is 2, so that is also 6. Because these two fractions are the same, they're equal to each other, then we know the cross product will be the same as well. Okay? Is 2/3 and 5/8 the same? Well, let's see. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 5 is 15. Are these two equal to each other? They are not. They don't simplify down to the same thing. They are not a true proportion. Okay, because if they were, cross product property would work. So I guess to answer this question, we'd say true, because these two are true, and false, because this is not a proportion, it's false. Okay. Hopefully you get that. If you didn't, pause it, go back, look at this example, notice that when we reduce it becomes the same. Okay. Now when we put a variable in the mix, what we're saying is we want to find the number that makes this true. We're not asking like, is this true or not? We're going to find the variable that makes it true. So we're going to use cross product property. So here I'm going to multiply 6 times x, 6x. I'm going to multiply 9 times 5, which is 45. So 6x equals 45. I'll divide by 6, and x equals, what goes in there, 7.5. So it will be 7 and 3/6, or 7.5, 7.5. Okay, and so that's our value that we would need to use in order to make these equations, or these fractions, the same. I cross multiplied 6 times x, and then 9 times 5, which gave me 45. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I do y times, here's a tricky one. Not really tricky, but look how this computer, or text, I don't know what, wrote this negative sign. This trips a lot of people up. Okay. With these negative signs, never, ever, 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 ever leave them in the middle. Okay? Because what happens is that people put them both places. So like they'll put -3 over -4. Think about it. What is -3 divided by -4? It's positive, because you got a negative divided by a negative. but this says it's negative, right? So what I want you to do, anytime that the computer writes a negative in the middle somewhere like that, in the middle of a fraction, you decide, do I want it in the top or the bottom? I usually just move it to the top. Okay, so now it looks like negative 3 over 4. Okay, it's what they told us at the beginning, but now we can definitely know that it goes on top. So I'm going to cross multiply. I have now 4y, because the 4 is positive, y is positive, equals negative 6, negative 7.5, negative 7.5. Okay, I'll divide both sides by 4. And so you definitely need a calculator here. I know it's going to be negative. Wow, there's going to be some thinking here. 1.875. You can check it on your calculator. Maybe I'll put my calculator up, see if it, I don't know if it records when I do this. So, negative 7.5 divided by 4. Negative 1.875. There we go. And so that should be your solution. That's why. Okay. You can go through, if you feel like you got the hang of this, you can go through and do this and kind of fast forward my video a little bit up through number 6 so that you can see if you got a hang of it and just checking my answers. Otherwise, you can follow along as I do these a little bit quicker. Okay. So I'm cross multiplying. 5 times 12 is 60. 3 times x is 3x, divide by 3, x will equal 20. Do the same thing here, that's 150, 180, equals 36x, divide both sides by 36, and that makes x equal 5. Okay, here we have 19 equals 57x. Definitely need a calculator for that. 19 divided by 57 is 1/3. Oh, there we go. So x would equal 1/3, or 0.3 repeating. Oh, since I'm here, I just want to make sure I tell you this. If you write it as a decimal, that's fine if the directions don't specify to write it as a fraction. But if you do write this as a decimal, please do not put 0.3. Okay, there's a big difference between 0.3 and 1/3. So if it's 1/3, or 0.3 repeating, make sure that you put this repeating sign over it. Okay. Alright, number 6, that negative sign in the middle, it'll trick you. Make sure you move it somewhere. Moved it to the top. 12 times 18. What is that? It's like 240, but you minus 24, so 216, 2.16. I'm sure that's what it is. Negative 2.16 equals 2.5x. Let me hope that that's right. 1.2 times 1.8. Okay, and I don't have to enter the negative because I'm going to use mental math to know that negative times positive is negative. Okay, and then so we'll divide that by 2.5, which I cannot do that mathematically. Again, I just put 2.5 into my calculator because I should know that this will come out to be negative. So x should be 0.864. Negative 0.864. Okay, so hopefully you got that down and that worked out for you. Let's look at some different problems. Now, in 1 through 6, we just had like one term cross multiplied and had to divide. But here we have expressions in our numerator and our denominator. I don't think any of these will turn out to be quadratics. Nope, they won't. Good. So we can do all these problems. But it's the same process. The one thing that I would caution you is that you're going to need to, when you see an expression in the numerator or the denominator, you're going to need to write down these understood parentheses. Okay, they don't write them down all the time because they just know that you know that those go together. But when you start cross multiplying, you need to make sure that you distribute. So I write them out for myself. Okay, and here I was just multiplying the numbers. Like when I saw 5 and 12, I just wrote 60. But when I have to do distribution, I make sure I write my distribution out. So I have 3 times x minus 1 equals 2 times x minus 2. I do that because that's where mistakes happen a lot. I, would be likely to write 2x minus 2 instead of 2x minus 4 in distributing. So if I show this, I can usually catch my mistake a little bit better. So I have 3x minus 3 equals 2x minus 4. You see it's turned into an equation with variables on both sides. We can solve that. Subtract 2x from both sides. X minus 3 equals negative 4. I'll add 3 to both sides, and then I'll get my solution is x equals negative 1. Okay? Doing the same thing up here. Switching. Okay, I'll write my parentheses. I have 4 times 2n plus 1 equals 5 times n plus 2. Distribute, I get 8n plus 4 equals 5n plus 10. And now I'm just solving for it, and I'll subtract 5n from both sides. I get 3n. I'll subtract 4 from both sides, and I get 6. Divide both sides by 3, and n equals 2. And then final example, if you'd like to pause it right now to see if you've got the hang of this, pause it and then play it to see if we get the same answer. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, I'm going to continue now. Alright, so I see addition and subtraction in the in the denominator, so I'm going to parentheses those out so I can kind of make sure they're grouped together. I got cross multiplication here, so I got 3 times b minus 2, or sorry, b plus 2. And I have 2 times 2b minus 1. Okay, and so now I'm going to distribute 3b plus 6 equals 4b minus 2. Subtract 3b from both sides, and so I get b minus 2 equals 6. Add 2 to both sides, and so when I do that, I'll get 8 equals b, or b equals 8. One last problem. Again, read the problem, pause it, see if you can do it on your own without me. I'll read the problem, so that should be enough time for you to pause the video if you're trying it on your own. Do try it on your own, guys. There's only one story problem, so kind of helps you out, I think, if you get that independent practice and didn't have me to check it over, I guess. So here we go, number 10. It says, my computer takes 10 minutes to download a 45-minute video or TV show. How long will it take the same computer to download a 2-hour movie? So in this problem, obviously don't say, like, what if we don't have enough space, or what if, bandwidth or whatever. If you know all that stuff about that, take that out of this problem. Okay, we're using a proportion. So it takes us 10 minutes for a 45-minute video. Okay, so we have our download speed, and you don't have to have download speed over video length. You could have video length over download speed. Okay, but now this next one says, how long will it take the computer to download a 2-hour movie? Where does this 2 hours go? Does it go on the top or the bottom? It should go on the bottom because that's where our video length is. But here's the tricky part. Don't write 2. What? How can we not write 2? It's the video length. Kinda. It's kinda the video length. Because when we talked about it in this first part, what were we talking about? Was it 45 hours? No, it was 45 minutes. So this 2-hour video kind of is tricky because we're not looking at a 2-hour video. We're looking at a 120-minute video in order to keep it the same ratio. Okay, we can't go from hours to minutes that way. Alright, so we're looking at a 120-minute video. We don't know how long it'll take. We don't know the download time, so I'll just put D. Okay, so we got that. Put D. Okay, and so we're going to cross multiply here. And so D times 45 is 45D. 10 times 120 is 1,200. Okay, divide both sides by 45. I wish I could do that in my head. Let me see if I can do it in my head. Okay, I know it's 10, 20. No, I'm thinking it's like 23 or something like that. But I can't do it in my head. So I had to use a calculator. Sorry, guys. If I'm disappointed. Okay. So, download time for this 120-minute video should be 26, I'll just say in 2/3 minutes. I could say 26 minutes and 40 seconds. 26 minutes, 40 seconds. Because 2/3 of a minute, a third of a minute is 20 seconds, so 2/3 is 40 seconds. Okay, so that's proportions for us. Hopefully you got enough practice there so that you're ready for it. 1 through 6 were the kind of just straightforward proportions. 7 through 9 were the ones that involved expressions in the numerator and denominator, but you're doing the same step. Cross product property, cross multiplying. Make sure you do the numerator from one side to the denominator to the other. Do not make the mistake of doing the same side. That does not work. Okay? It's one simple step. All you have to do is pay attention to what you're doing as you do it. Do it slowly. Check your work. Alright? See ya when I see ya.